Hello YouTube, Mr. Evans here with my vlog number 116. Today is Wednesday and the time is 5:50. I really do need to get out of here. I've got a meeting to get to, but to check in about the day. Overall, it was a good day. Almost every period went well overall. The thing is, the frustrating moments really poked a hole in my positivity. And I want to talk about that a little bit today and why it happens. Because, well, the limitations imposed on me here, they kind of forbid me from getting too specific. But I think there's a question that teachers ask a lot, which I want to talk about. And it kind of mirrors a situation, which leads me to the wonder quote of the day, which ironically is, "How like an angel came I down," by Thomas Traherne, I think that's pronounced. And I didn't really understand what that was about, so I looked at the poem where it's from, and it's kind of about, seeing, just like, the guy's talking about, came I down, as in like born into the world, and I'm surrounded by all these beautiful and wonderful things, and the sky is so bright, but for me, there was a point in the day when I think through a combination of the pre-existing anxiety and just other factors I won't get into, was really struck with depression. Pretty minor depression, I think. I'll probably be out of it by tomorrow. Still in it right now, by the way. Talking about depression is kind of hard, because I think people think of depression, like when somebody says, "Oh, I'm so depressed," what they mean is, "I'm so sad." And for me, there's a very clear difference. At least I think that there's a difference. For me, depression, it's kind of like my anxiety. When I get anxious, I get activated, I start shaking, I'm nervous, I'm jumpy, and even after the stimulus is gone, the anxiety remains. And it's the same with depression. Even after that stimulus is gone, or I've dealt with it, just all of a sudden, everything's changed. It's like the lenses I look at the world through, are suddenly replaced with these dark, dark lenses. And now, maybe there's positives, but I don't see them anymore. And even the positive stuff, you end up finding some way to put a negative spin on it. There was actually a point where I thought I had gotten out of it, but it turned out I was just kind of feeling happy at that moment, and the depression was still there. As soon as I was out of it, depression is hard to talk about with certain personality types. I believe, and I could be wrong here, that I've struggled with this off and on for a while. Again, not a diagnostician, can't really diagnose myself, but I believe it's there. Except with certain personality types, like mine, it takes a form that I've heard referred to as walking depression. And it's a little bit tough because, people look at you, they think that you're fine because you go on through your day, you take these feelings and you refuse to identify them as depression, even if that's what they really are. For me, it's a feeling. There's a feeling that settles in that kind of lets me know that, okay, this is depression, this is where you are. It's like all the energy is just sucked out of you. And, even taking a few steps, walking to the other side of the room, it just seems like it's going to be too hard. This is kind of hard to talk about. But the reason I want to talk about it is I think one of the symptoms is failure to see a way out. I know I'm going to be fine at some point. Although I will say I really don't know when. Usually it's when a positive enough stimulus comes in. Like, that doesn't stop it, but sometimes that'll kind of break it up enough that I'm able to start focusing on the positive again, and then I'm okay. But you really don't see a way out of it. And that leads me to the question that teachers ask when a student does something that they're not supposed to do. And it's a pretty small question. It's something like, was this disrespectful? Was this a problem? Is this behavior wrong? And I think when there's not a clear yes or no to that answer, that's when we face a lot of difficulty, because it's like, I don't know for sure how I'm supposed to assign a consequence to this, how I'm supposed to respond to it, because I don't really know if it's bad or not. But, even when you know that the answer is yes, oftentimes that leads to other questions. Questions like, what do I do about it? Right? And that's one of these things where, I've talked about this before, when you see a misbehavior and you know how to respond to it, it's not really as stressful. But even if you do know how to respond to it, when that behavior happens multiple times, you stop asking yourself the question, is this disrespectful? And you start asking yourself, will this always be disrespectful? I think another way to phrase that is not so much... The question that arises is, can I stop this? Ever. Not, mind you, right now, can I step in and change the behavior? It's when I've seen the same thing every day, or almost every day, or at least recurringly for, over a long period of time, I say to myself, is it just always going to be this way? Which engenders further questions of self-worth. Should I be able to stop this? Does the fact that I will not be able to, or I believe I will not be able to, mean that I am not worthy of being in this position? These are difficult questions to answer, and they may be difficult questions for you to hear, but I think the reality is every teacher faces these. Probably a lot more than you may realize. And so they're the questions that have come to me today, and they're what's in my mind right now. And I'm hoping against hope that when I talk to you at this time tomorrow, I'll be able to say, I'm fine now. Because a lot of times it really is just 24 hours is all it takes. But obviously that's not the case for everybody, at least not every time. So keep you updated. Of course, even in the difficulty, there's always positives, So let's talk about the positives. Let me name 3 things for you that made me smile today. And I haven't thought them through, but I'll say one of them was kind of the same as yesterday when I had that fan turned on. The students were so grateful for it. It really makes me feel like, yeah, you know what? I'm good. I'm a good person. These students appreciate that I'm doing this. It matters to them, and that means it's good that I'm doing it. And I can feel good for going out of my way to take this measure that students do appreciate. So there's that. Another positive is I did have to make a couple of interventions with some students yesterday, and today they worked. The students were great. They were on task, which is always good when it's okay, good, there was a problem, and I did something about it, and now I don't have that problem. It's good, but I think more than that, it's good for the students, because it says to them, you are strong enough to meet my expectations. So I always really appreciate that. I would say the last thing I'm grateful for is that I've pretty much finished now. I did have some, I kind of said that there were some like longer term things I was working on, and pretty much finished with them now. So at this point, it's kind of just a matter of continuing to proctor and getting ready for next week. Yeah. I'm sorry for the sad tone of this vlog, YouTube. Teachers, we have bad days. We do. Every teacher does. But please don't interpret that to mean that I don't care, or that I just must be a sad person naturally, because there's ebb and flow. There's always change. And like I said, I look forward to talking to you later about whether I've seen that change. That is where I will end this vlog, YouTube. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Bye-bye, YouTube.